What's up, guys? Welcome, Laura Pritchard, Spirit Advisor, Child Rescue, ATX Worldwide. Just doing a energy update for the creature that people see and know as Sarah Rachel Adams. This is a full-bodied roast. My intention for roasting is because her harvest is ripe for the picking, so pick it. Like, Sarah Rachel, predatorial force for humanity, and she's weaponized. She's an asset of Gaia TV, I believe. I mean, definitely weaponized by Gaia TV, but I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. So, there's just so much I can say, and no, like, literally nobody is afraid of you. So she was like, she was commenting on Facebook something, and then she was like, you keep deleting my comments because you're afraid. Are you afraid? No, nobody's afraid of you, chick. The chick is a compliment. You're not a chick, you're a creature. It's a supercomputer. That's all that is a supercomputer. I heard that Commander Casbolt had you and Holly Baglio fight to the death, and she kicked your fucking ass. Because you're not to be feared. I mean, your harvest is ripe for the picking, so pick it. I mean, does anybody even really need this? This creature is the embodiment of a supercomputer, and so she's all ego and she's all supercomputer. So I'm hesitant because it doesn't really, it's one of those things, it doesn't like make me feel good to put people down. She's not a person, but I guess like to the eye, she's a person to people. But she doesn't deny that she is a satanic witch. Sarah Rachel Adams does not deny that she is a satanic witch. Mess around and find out. She can't deny what is true. So feed the supercomputer truthful information, and then when it comes back and it says like, well, I'm very much alive. Like, yeah, you're a supercomputer and you're alive. And she's like, well, I never hurt any kids. No, you don't hurt kids. You just fucking kill them. Or you have other people kill them. It's not funny. Your harvest is ripe for the picking, so pick it. Nobody's afraid of you. Literally nobody's afraid of you. About Max Spears' death, everyone knows that Sarah Rachel Adams was Max Spears' handler. Women drag men to hell. That was a bad omen for Max Spears because it ended up killing him. She was his handler. She broke him down, which got him killed. She broke him down, and then it got him killed. She poses as his handler. So, no disrespect to Max Spears, but this is what happened. I think she posted a video, like, explaining it. I met her at 2018 Conscious Life Expo. This was in her early stages of development when Gaia took her on as an asset. They began to cyborgize her. So I met her in her early stages of cyborgization, so she was very underdeveloped. I was halfway across the conference, and then a voice told me to go to the other corner to get I was halfway across, I got a coffee, but then a voice told me to go to the other side to get cream and sugar. And so when I went to the other side to get cream and sugar, I saw the back of this chick's head, and then it registered that's Sarah Rachel Adams. And so because I had heard about her through my friend James in Brooklyn, who said that when the Above Majestic movie premiere in October of Well, so this must have been 2019 because the Above Majestic premiere was scheduled for Denver in October of 2018. And then we all had our tickets and our hotels picked out, but the event was canceled because they said it wasn't safe. They weren't going to do it. But some people decided to go anyways. And my friend James went, and then Sarah Rachel Adams went, and then he met her there. And then when I saw him, he was like, you should connect with her because I think you would have a lot in common. And so that's the first time I heard about her, and I listened to her material, and I didn't really think anything of it. And then I ended up meeting her at Conscious Life Expo 2019. So she was in this early development of cyborgization. She was not a very developed cyborg. So she was there as perhaps a guest when really she was there as a spectacle. They were showing her off as a new weapon that they have. So I went up to her and I was like, oh, you're Sarah Rachel Adams. My friend James said that he had met you and that we'd have a lot in common. And she was very robotic. She looked robotic. She was something I've never seen before. She was the first cyborg I had ever met. And she said, oh, nice to meet you. And then small talk, nothing very deep. And then she was with her boyfriend at the time who was apparently some doctor, but he was also a cyborg robot. He was sitting down at the table. And then I brought up Emery Smith and she was like, oh, you know Emery Smith? And then the doctor was like, oh, you know Emery Smith? Ba, ba, ba. The guy at producers was to the right, and they were all wearing suits and a bunch of creepazoids, but one of the dudes came over and he didn't acknowledge me, and he rattled a code into her ear. And when he rattled the code into her ear, she turned to me and she said, I have to go now. Nice to meet you. Can I give you a hug? And then, it's it feels like nothing because it's not a person. And then she sat down, and then I left, and it was just the most interesting thing because she's not real. She's like a cyborg. And so she had been developing herself as this cyborg. They were kind of inducing the supercomputer into that person. So I don't know if she died and then they put in the supercomputer, or if she's a test tube baby. Sarah Rachel Adams is a test tube baby. She's not naturally born, and there's really not that's not an insult because James Casbolt is technically a test tube baby. But these people are bred to serve a function. So she was bred to serve a function, to gobble up the people, to create a harvest. And it's very predatorial. It's for Gaia TV and the very nefarious groups that are trying to rope all these souls into this holocaust of sorts. And so I didn't really hear about her again for a while, but she's downloaded with a program. The program that she was downloaded with was My Memories. So it was my Akashic record that she got downloaded with. And so she was spewing out information as if it was her, and it was never her, it was me, except for I was not under satanic ritual abuse. I didn't go through any of that trauma and any of that abuse. And a lot of these people act like this trauma and this abuse is, something to make you feel bad for them for, but it's contractually, and not everybody that experiences this is the case, but a lot of them contractually are a part of that. They're that, they are that. Just like these satanic families, these kids grow up to become that. And she is a big satanic witch. That's all she is. She's a supercomputer. So she played a key role in destroying the marriage between James Casbolt and Haley. But the problem is Haley was also part of that program. So Haley is very similar to Sarah Rachel Adams and a lot of other women like Laura Eisenhower and Jenny Constantine and Laurel and like a lot of the people that I know, women were a part of this program, and like they're there to be weaponized. They're there to serve as a weapon of sorts for Satan's safety net narrative for the awakening. So it's not real, it's all a safety net narrative, it's all fake, it's all phony. And I do care about Laurel because I think that Laurel is half in and half out. And more recently, she came up again because Laurel was living with Sarah Rachel Adams, and then and I thought that she was, and I told her like don't really do that, but she also didn't talk to me for like a long time, and I found out she was living with her, living in her garage. And then when shit got weird, I was like, just come to Austin, like just come like live with me. And perhaps it's all kind of part of the same whole satanic thing because they make these people like in opposition to each other, but I think the truth is they're actually part of the same thing so that you perceive the opposition and then you're like, oh, good person, you know, good cop, come be with me. But then when Laurel got here, I realized that Laurel's programming had increased. She was channeling the AI that is posing as God, because Sarah is the opposite of God, so she's a supercomputer, and the whole thing is the opposite of God. It's in opposition to God. It's in opposition to James Casbolt and his family. So when Laurel got here, she told me a lot about Sarah Rachel Adams, and the things that I could tell you are really disturbing. And I feel like it kind of makes me like an asshole to like say the specifics because I don't think people need it. And I think it would maybe just like make me look like a dickhead if I said it. But she's really gross. Like she's really creepy. She's really gross. And if you converse with this thing, then you will find out it is really a cyborg that is going through system failure, mega system failure. And I hadn't experienced this previously, but she said to me on Facebook that like you're afraid. Like nobody's afraid of you, chick. Chick is a compliment. Nobody's afraid of you. Nobody's afraid of this thing. Like your harvest is ripe for the picking, so pick it. Nobody cares. Pick your harvest. Nobody cares. If you look at the people who support her, it's a bunch of women that are robotic also. It's a bunch of satanic women that are like witches also. And that's her harvest. I mean, she is like the ultimate destroying primordial force. And to say she is kind of a compliment because it really is like a blanket thing. Like none of these people, none of these satanic witches or any of these women that are really dark, like none of them individually are like anything all powerful. They're all part of the void. They're all part of it, whether they're, you know, like low level or like high level satanic witches. Like they're all part of the void. And I really like what John Lamb was saying because Lucas Alexander from Age of Truth TV, he was wondering if there's some kind of like divine order to the horrible things that happen to children and to, you know, with the Satanists. And then John Lamb was like, there is no divine order about this energy. It is just this free-floating chaos of destructiveness. There is no divine order. These people are not special. They're not anything. They just serve a function and then they do it. And there is no divine order. It's sort of like it's all out of whack now and it just needs to be dismantled. Like the whole thing needs to be dismantled. All the satellites, if you even Google the amount of satellites that are surrounding Earth, it's like, it's disgusting. It's like this big infestation of satellites. And these probably come from like Elon Musk and from, you know, Joe Rogan, Aleister Crowley, James Maynard Keenan. Like I think they're all a part of it. they're all a part of this like harvesting of people, and it's very AI, and the jab is like the hardware to the software, but I don't think you need the jab to be part of the hardware or the software, because when you look at people like Sarah Rachel Adams and like Sasha Stone and like Laura Eisenhower and like all these people, it poses as good, but it doesn't feel good, it doesn't seem good, and it doesn't outlast the test of time the same way that James Casbolt outlasts the test of time, because it's all anti-God. The Satan's power is in numbers, so it is going to be like 99%, and then once in a great while you'll find somebody who is real and who is true, and then within that umbrella there could be species that are good intent but just kind of, I don't know, not very influential, or like, I don't know what David Wilcock is, like I don't really understand, but he looks kind of weird, and maybe there's a lot of people here that seeded life here that is a part of David Wilcock's harvest. I mean, you got to think of Earth as like a place where life is seeded. So like Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel, they seeded life. They have their own story. These are humans of Earth. Our minds create reality. We're organic humans. We're good. We have compassion. We have love. And it's not to say that other beings don't have love, but there's a lot of other beings here that are not from here, that were here to develop their species so that they could then take them and then bring them back to where they came from. And then there's this whole other thing that's in complete opposition to the natural humans of Earth, and that is felt through resonance. I mean, you have to feel it through a resonance. There's a lot of bullshit people out there that are putting a lot of bullshit stuff on the internet, and it's influencing you because it's trying to get your soul. If you think about the super soldier narrative, the super soldiers, as Tim Riffat explains, they run on love. The super soldiers run on love. But the super soldiers under James Casbolt and I, we had to go into the darker depths of experience to work for the dark in order to come back and to defeat them and then to bring about the light. So the opposition to love would be that of like a supercomputer, which is like a female AI, and the human embodiment is Sarah Rachel Adams. Like, she's like the avatar for it. And so the super soldiers, like Veronica Bartolini, I said she was channeling some heavy narcissism. Like, she got really heavily narcissistic in her messaging because she was attaching too much to the AI supercomputer. And I could see that and I could sense that, and it was evident. So I said something about it, and then she went into system failure, and then hopefully, I think she took some time off, and then hopefully she's healing from that. And that's what I hope for Laurel also. I hope that she sees it, and I hope that she detaches and heals from that. But healing from that is hard for these people because they're so invested in this reality that is of the negative super soldier paradigm, the MK Ultra slave paradigm. They're so heavily invested in it, and then Satan keeps posing as God in the form of money. They keep giving them money, and so when they break away from it, they notice system failure and they perceive it as dark, when in actuality they were in something dark and they need to completely break away from it. I mean, what's more important right now is for you to retrieve your soul, to regain your soul at all costs. Whatever you need to do to regain your soul at all costs is the name of the game. We're trying to retrieve all the super soldiers out of the negative paradigm into the positive, and then those who don't make it, they just didn't quite make it. And they're attached to the supercomputer. So she was hot on my tail when I went after the beer industrial complex. So the beer brewing industry is one giant Luciferian operation against my partner, William Christopher Booth, who was selling beer for them. It's very characteristic of like you'll never rise to the top. They just want you to keep selling beer for them. And if you break away, they're going to destroy your entire network, your entire marketing network, all of your social network. He had no friends. It was very concerning to me. He had no friends, and that was a big red flag because it was very social. It had this appearance of having all these friends, and the same thing with the New Age MK Ultra mind control slaves. They have this appearance of having all these friends, but then when you break away from it and you rise to your own personal power, you notice how all those friends will turn on you, and that's very characteristic of these cults. And I recently posted about Elk Lake Lodge, the satanic cult surrounding my father, the construction industrial complex surrounding my father being Alexander Romanov. He began the industrial complex back in World War I. He began the union of construction and plumbing and all that stuff, which was a good thing at the time, but then they usurped it, and then they bastardized it, and then they enslaved those individuals in that. They took total control. This is why the human mind is destroying the world, because the world has become an entire parasiting. It's an entire inversion of what is needed and what is balanced with divine creation. So she was hot on that tail, going in for that harvest, because she's like a part of all, because she's the mind control behind all these things. Even with Mersh on Nightwave Radio, because I took a liking to Mersh on Nightwave Radio, and I realized he's one of these imprisoned people, and I worked to heal him. And then in turn, he was like very combative and continued to be combative. But I worked to heal him, and I began to investigate what was going on with Mersh, with Nightwave Radio. Same exact thing. When you go against the cult, you'll find you have no friends because everyone turns on you. And there was even one night where I was going in. There's a couple of different occasions. One occasion, I brought up Sarah Rachel Adams' name, and these people blocked me, and they were beginning to revolt against me because that is the supercomputer that is running the program for all the satanic cults. She's like the destroying AI force. And then separately from that, I began to investigate further, and I realized these people were doing these like after parties. And so I would get into the after parties, and then they would have system failure. And then they would go to like another platform like Odyssey. And then it was like the creepiest thing I've ever seen. I had very low connection, but I had enough connection where I could see what they were doing. It was a cultural conditioning. It was like a satanic conditioning. And I was like, this is like some of the creepiest stuff I've ever seen. And it all trickles back to Sarah Rachel Adams because she's like this human avatar for this destroying supercomputer AI force that is imprisoning a lot of people, aspects of their soul. Like William Christopher, like my father, like Mersh from Nightwave Radio, like Frank with Central Health. That's like the Windsor cult. It all goes back to the Windsor cult. It all goes back to Hank Meyer and Queen Elizabeth, the dark matriarchy, and then the negative reptilians, the Draco reptilians with all the AI. They're infested with AI nanobots. And the nanobots have a mother. They have a mother, which is a supercomputer, which is one giant like black squid. It's like a big AI black squid. And from what I understand, that black squid used to be underground. They kept it underground. You hear stories from James Casbolt about Michael Aquino. They used to feed this thing so that it wouldn't come onto the surface. But then when it comes for the times and the trials of the whole world, it's sort of karmic, where if you don't take your freedom back, if you aren't really strong in God and strong consciously and strong in your faith, then the supercomputer kind of eats you up. And that's the harvest. So all these different negative ET groups, I call them the Chimera group, goes back to Atlantis. The reason why Atlantis went down was because they were doing too much human-animal mixing, human mixing. They were doing all kinds of nasty shit, and so God put it down. And that's about to happen again. Like, God is putting this down. This is what I mean when I say, like, nobody is afraid of this person, because literally it's your harvest is ripe for the picking, so pick it. People have made their minds up. Their souls are where they need to be, in my opinion. You don't have much time left. You need to get right with God. I mean, I don't know that I do as much directing people towards God. I think I do, but I also share with people the technicality behind the end times, the apocalypse, the complete destruction of the pagan nation. There's no other way. This is just the way it goes. There's no other way. So this entity gobbles up all these people, and if that's part of your being, then you get gobbled up with it. And I'm not like, I don't wish that upon people. It's just kind of a karmic thing that people choose for themselves. So if you interact with the thing, then you'll see it's just all ego and supercomputer. The thing really wants to keep the physical reality, the pagan nation, on lock. It can't. It's a I don't know. It's just sort of silly to hear about, because it's being destroyed, and in its destruction, people will go down with it. So nobody is afraid of this chick. Her harvest is ripe for the picking. Everyone knows it. It doesn't take much to take a look and see, yeah, that is a really creepy person. So, anything else? Everything she says is an inversion of the truth. So, I don't know. I don't even have to really go into the logistics of it, because it's just like, it is what it is. It's so pathetic. I think that the darker forces, whether it be those who are part of the martial law that's coming, or those who are part of like the love and light bullshit, MK Ultra mind control slaves, the negative super soldiers, it's all part of the same thing. So like, they have a whole spectrum of creation that's the same thing. They're all part of it. They're all AI infested, nano infested. Because it was like a scapegoat. You know, ufology is a joke, because the only reason why there is a ufology community is because they hide stuff from us. So the whole thing is a complete joke, and it doesn't matter. They have you focusing on these other things, it doesn't matter. They're all harvesting you, whether you resonate with like Arcturians or like these fake Pleiadians, and you're having all this like AI spirituality. I'm really sorry, but a lot of you guys that are having all these spiritual experiences where you're like seeing things and it's like very weird, that's AI. You're being gobbled up into an AI, and I think a lot of people are happy to go that route, and that's fine. You know, I've had sessions with people where I was like, do you want me to bring you back? And they've said no. You know, people get so into this like spirituality, and it's a lie and it's fake. And I'm like, well, do you want me to bring you back? Do you want me to help you come back? And they say no. It's all AI spirituality. When you listen to her speak, all she does is talk about herself. That's you know, whatever you think. I don't really care. She says she like heals people of things she doesn't. So Christine Joan Hart made a video about her, and she was like glorifying her, how she healed her. She took her to the 14th dimension, which I don't believe exists, and they had all these leeches on me. And when I got there, I had all these leeches on me. And then Sarah Rachel Adams healed me because she was the leeches. You know, a lot of these people, like Stuart Swerdlow is another one. They bring you into these circumstances. They create the circumstance. So they created the demonic element in your life, and then they like quote unquote heal you of it. And then you're all roped into this like AI providing system, this very satanic providing system. And then you think you're healed of it, but all you did was you got roped into Satan posing as God. There's so much I can say because I went through the entire New Age bullshit movement, and then the beer industrial complex, and then the death care industrial complex, and the construction industrial complex. The whole point is to destroy the world. Absolutely, because the whole thing is insane. I don't have to convince you of that. You know that is true. There is only one way, and it's to destroy the whole thing. She proves what James Casbolt said about her. Yeah, and he was very nice. I think James Casbolt was very nice about what he said about her, because I think it's a lot worse. And there's a lot of things I could say that are so freaking horrible. And I just feel like saying them just makes me look like an asshole. But but you know what? She eats raw meat all day long. Sarah Rachel Adams eats raw meat. So because Laurel is like my friend, kind of, but she's also an MK Ultra slave. So she's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, totally in this whole thing. She lived with her. Sarah pounds raw meat all day long. She goes to the grocery store. She orders lamb, a lot of lamb, ribs and meat and bone and all, and then she just eats raw lamb. And then when I was playing around with the supercomputer, I was like, dude, you fucking pound raw meat all day long. And she's like, well, I'm on the keto diet. I'm on the keto diet. That doesn't discount what I just said. And she's basically saying this is true. And Laurel told me she pounds raw meat all day long. What kind of person pounds raw meat all day long? That's not a person. She does like enemas up her ass, and she just leaves it in the toilet. She can't even take care of her environment. And then other people see it and they're like, ew, that's disgusting, and she doesn't care. And why all the enemas? Because there's something weird about her where she's like not human. She's like some kind of like robot. So she's like pounding the raw meat, and then she's like doing the enemas, and she's shitting all over the toilet, and she just like leaves it there. She takes appointments on the phone, but she puts it on speaker so that everyone in the house can hear everyone's personal business. And she's doing other things. She doesn't really care, obviously. She lives in Sedona, Arizona, with like David Wilcock in her backyard, and they do like satanic rituals right in the forest. This is a satanic witch, obviously. She smells terrible because when you eat raw meat all day long, you smell disgusting. Laurel said she has like a weird genitalia. Like her genitalia is like something weird. It's like this big, like beefy looking, like beef curtains. Maybe there's a dick in there. Who the fuck knows? She said she's got a really strange genitalia Maybe there's a dick in there. Seriously, who knows? What is that thing? That thing is not human. She was supposed to marry this poor bastard named Benjamin Moore, where Benjamin Moore was a man. So in my last incarnation, I was Francesca Woodman. And Francesca Woodman was in a very serious relationship with a man named Benjamin Moore that went on to become Benjamin Moore Paints, who became a famous artist. And then he was mysteriously found dead in his apartment on June 25th. And then Sarah Rachel Adams is like engaged to a man named Benjamin Moore. And then where is he now? Did she kill him? Who knows? Where is Benjamin Moore? Where is your fiance that you were supposed to like marry? Half your family's in France and half your family's here. And we're going to get married. We're going to do 2 weddings. Where is Benjamin Moore? Did you fucking kill him? And who was that? And why did Benjamin Moore, the actual man, die mysteriously in his home on June 25th? Benjamin Moore Paints. This is something creepy because this bitch imitates my life. She's a weird imitation of me and then like an inversion. And then she's the supercomputer connected to, she's like the AI tentacle thing, and it just comes up time and time again. She's like hot on the tail of every cult that I go after, and it's all connected to her. People have like defended her, which is, well, I don't know if they really defend her because it's like they don't really want to give it away, but I know exactly what you're not trying to do. But then you want to like block me and like cut communication and like cut the connection. Because she's something weird. She's the AI supercomputer. She's the destroying force. She's the human embodiment of the dark matriarch. You know, there's like Queen Elizabeth and all her clones, and then all those people, and then Gaia developed her to be this thing for this time. That's who she is. She's nothing more than that. And everyone that she connects with, even like Brad Olson, like glorifies her. Brad Olson is full of Morgellons. I've seen it. I was at his house. He showed me. He told me. I'm full of AI. This is all AI. I'm AI infested. He had Leo Lion Zagami over. You know, they did a talk. We were all hanging out. It was like a dinner party. Leo Lion Zagami was like a cyborg of Leo Lion Zagami. It wasn't the real guy. It was like a cyborg duplicate of him. And then he had a girlfriend who was a gray hybrid. And she had a weird wig on, and she had something behind her ear that she kept like fussing with behind her ear. And then she also had a gray hybrid female friend who was there with a reptilian. And I was having telepathic communication with the reptilian, all at Brad Olson's dinner party. You know, all these people are part of this like non-human cult. They're not human. And it's weird because I feel like I don't know, I always have more compassion for men for some reason, as long as they're not pedophiles. I don't think Brad Olson is a pedophile, but he's full of Morgellons. He's full of AI. He showed me, he told me, as if like this sucks, I guess. He probably doesn't care. And then he's like glorifies Sarah Rachel Adams, and it's like, but there you go, because that is the AI destroying force in this movement here. And from what I understand, Holly Baglio kicked her fucking ass. James Casbolt had them fight to the death, and where Holly kicked her fucking ass. Because Holly Baglio is probably like the huntress. And Sarah Rachel Adams ain't shit. She's nothing. Guy ousted a few years ago for practicing Satanism. David Wilcox trying to what looked like distance himself. No, they're all part of the same thing though. So like even when like Emery Smith, who is a total robot. I mean, he's kind of like not even on the radar anymore, but Emery Smith was a good friend of mine, but every time I talked to him, that dude could not shut up. He never stopped talking because he's AI. He's like an AI predatorial weapon. He could never stop talking. And then they were like, oh, Corey's not friends with Emery and David and Bo. No, they're all the same thing. And like, weird side note, David Wilcock grew up in the town next to me. He literally grew up right next to me, right in my backyard. David Wilcock in New York. He grew up in Scotia, New York. I'm from Clifton Park, New York. So, I guess that's just kind of some gossip. Anything else? I mean, Sarah Rachel Adams is a creature that used to possess Haley Meyer when she was dating James Casbolt, and he shook Haley and he was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Because he wasn't talking to Haley, he was talking to Sarah Rachel Adams. And then Haley obviously was like, oh my god, you're talking to me, because Haley's so deceived. I don't know what. So Haley is like a person that lacks like human compassion, and I don't mean this as an insult. I have a good relationship with her. I guess I have like a level of respect for her because I understand like what she is. She's like a human that doesn't have, she's lacking like half of the human component, which is interesting because then they had Dresden, who now Dresden has both James Casbolt and Haley. So like Dresden should have the human component, and then he should be half of what Haley is. But Haley doesn't allow him to speak to his own son. Never has. And it's something that I've shared in great grief and then anger and then now acceptance. And then now we're just kind of in a place of like doing whatever we can to just like hope for the best possible outcome, because that's all you can do. I mean, that's his son. This is insane. This is his son, and Haley doesn't let him communicate. Yet she talks to James Casbolt's daughter every day. Dresden talks to his daughter every day, but James Michael can't talk to his own son. This is absolutely heartbreaking for a human being. And I think the reason why Haley doesn't understand is because I think that Haley lacks half of the human component. And she's not looking too good lately. She's looking very anorexic. And I've experienced something similar with William Christopher Booth channeling Satan. He would channel something, which that something he was channeling was very fond of me, but at the same time in opposition to me, so I would never be violent towards it. But that's the difference between men and women. The destroying female force is something that we hate and we want to be destroyed, whereas the Antichrist male force is something that is more to be integrated. This is just my experience. It's something that is more to be integrated than to be destroyed. This is why the female aspect of society is far more concerning, if not the ultimate concern. Even men that have this kind of possession, it's female. Men that are so dark, it's a female thing that is possessing them. So it's all this destroying female force. And then Sarah Rachel Adams is like the human embodiment of it. And so no, nobody is afraid of this chick. She's like, are you afraid? Nobody's afraid of you, bitch. Your harvest is ripe for the picking. So pick it. Pick your harvest. It's ripe for the picking. No one's afraid of you. And she is going through system failure because she's like more pathetic than ever, obviously. I mean, I don't mean that as an insult. It's just the truth. Look at her freaking harvest. Look at these people. All right. Okie doke. Well, there you go. I don't know. There you have it. that's the whole story. There's probably more to it, but that's a lot of it. And I woke up October 10th, 2016. I came across James Casbolt's material December 2018, and then that's where I really connected to him. And then, we went from there, and then now we're kind of in this moment where, we're trying to bring the two together, and that's kind of the whole objective, and then that thing will be destroyed. It has to be destroyed. That's what gets destroyed. The satellites, the digital, the negative AI, the internet, the blackout, it's all going to be destroyed. And then all that will remain is love. So there's really nothing to fear. There's no power left. There's no power left. There is no, it's not even a fight anymore. Like, it's not a fight. I think that they wish that we would fight with them. It's not a fight. I think it's the desperation to fight. I would never fight. Because it's you're a thing that is like to collect a harvest. So get your harvest and get the fuck out. And if you need to be forced out, I guess that's the whole alien-human war. You'll be forced out. So I think the common theme here is when the populace goes in for a martial law, it gets circumvented. So the alien-human war that's about to pop off is going to be a result of martial law. So when they go in for martial law, just know that it's like, oh, that's it. It's all going to be circumvented. And then it all goes down. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all your comments. Leave your stories and your experiences in the comments below. And I'll check you guys later. Have a great night.